Is generative AI going to cause the death of apps as we've come to know them? While this has been one of the big AI talking points of 2025, as we look at the direction Microsoft is taking for 2026 and beyond, we have to imagine that apps have a long life in front of them. In fact, we now have 3 new AI-powered app building experiences to show off what that route might be, and in this video I'm going to take a look at each of them: the App Builder Agent, code-based apps in Copilot Pages, and the new Vibe app creation experience for Power Apps. Keep watching to get the full overview of what's going on and what you can expect. My original goal for this video was to simply look at the App Builder Agent that is now part of the Frontier program, but I realised that on its own this doesn't tell a full picture about how Microsoft is innovating, not just on the means of creating apps, but also on the purpose of having them in the first place. This will change the journey many of us are on with app creation, but also, more importantly, create big responsible AI challenges for the future. More on that before the end of the video. The headline talking point that we keep hearing is that the future is agents everywhere, with amazing innovation being showcased in tools like Copilot Studio. But under the surface, this work is also radically changing what apps are, how we interact with them, how everyone from end users to pro developers might create them, and how they fit into the ongoing march of digital process optimization that AI tooling is now at the forefront of. Are we close to an impending death of apps due to AI? Probably not, but that doesn't mean there isn't radical change we should think through and plan for the impact of. The App Builder Agent is a new Frontier program agent that is the sibling of the Workflows agent I looked at a couple of weeks ago. I'll put a link to that video down below. It brings the process of creating apps with natural language to Copilot Chat. Like all Frontier agents, if you're part of the program, trying out App Builder is as simple as adding the agent, and once in the agent you can just tell it to build an app. In this case I'll use a simple prompt that's included in documentation for this feature on the Microsoft support page. The agent takes what is a ridiculously simple prompt and without asking for any follow-up or clarification gets to work, and it works its way through a plan of activity with tasks that sound good, like creative direction, but don't actually mean much or tell you what's going on. But after a few minutes of watching this work happen, you end up with an app you can play with. The app form turns up that clearly shows what's supposed to happen, but does it work? No, absolutely not. And what I've found is that these App Builder apps tend to work sometimes and not others, and this seems to vary depending on where, in terms of a tenant or perhaps user, you end up building them. However, if you see errors like this one out of the gate, remember that Frontier is all about showing you new features before they are ready, not giving you tools to put into production. After a couple of back and forth revisions where I specify errors I'm seeing to the App Builder agent, it fixes the app, so it works, kind of. And from here I can go ahead and share my very limited and questionably useful app. I get a simple sharing link like I would for a file, and any user of this can open in their browser, so long as they've got a Microsoft 365 Copilot license. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this video and want to see more from me with regular updates on Microsoft 365, Copilot and the AI landscape, please give the video a like and hit the subscribe button. Elsewhere, if I roll the dice on another example in another tenant, you can see that here App Builder is successful in creating a working app first time for an event RSP management tool, although it has very limited functionality. The reality is, though, that being able to take a prompt to a somewhat usable app in Copilot Chat in just a few minutes does give a glimpse of the future, whether or not right now it's totally usable. In the background, it seems that what App Builder creates is a Power Apps code app layered on top of a SharePoint site as a data source. None of this is currently immediately editable through any means other than the App Builder agent itself, so it doesn't really align with what we've come to know of Power Apps, and we're kind of treading a new path to this delightful new world, potentially, of code-based Power Apps innovation. Or maybe we're just creating a completely dead end for existing Power Apps low-code makers. But this isn't the only thing Microsoft is trying out in this space. We also have some other early previews of experiences that both step down and step up in terms of sophistication when it comes to integrating apps into your daily work. Another entry point for apps is now Copilot Pages. The ability has been added for users to generate single-page in-memory apps that work in the context of a Copilot chat. What do I mean by in-memory? Well, these are not apps that are backed by some kind of data platform behind them, so they don't store anything. But sometimes what you need is a framework for thinking about something consistently in the form of a graphical user interface rather than data storage. Take this example where I want to produce an app that's simply creating a framework for calculating the cost and ROI of meetings. Copilot gets to work, pushes its output onto a page, and from there I get a workable app. I've described these tools as being similar to jigs that carpenters might build to help them make a difficult cut consistently on a project. Often these are fairly disposable tools, but essential to the specific task or project. These in-memory apps might be similar to jigs for knowledge workers, whereas in the past you might have fired up Excel and tried to work out how to calculate what you need. Now Copilot can just wrap a neat UI around your concept. If you want to hang on to these apps, you can use this additional capability here to create a version using App Builder, and again you get a permanent code app for Power Apps. But in this case, even if your app would logically benefit from a data layer behind it, the process doesn't currently create that. You just get an uneditable App Builder app you can come back to, but iterate on no further. So it's clear that both of these capabilities, the App Builder agent and in-memory apps in Copilot Pages, are aimed directly at knowledge workers, many of whom have probably never built an app before. But outside of the innovation that we've already seen in the Power Apps Maker portal itself, what other tools is Microsoft bringing online for those who might have a bit more familiarity with app building? The last experience I want to highlight is one for Vibe app building at vibe.powerapps.com. This takes a prompt and creates an app, but does so around plans, Dataverse data models, and again, code apps for Power Apps. In this case, I start from a sample prompt around RSVP management, and then enrich it by using the useful tool in the prompt box. This then constructs an app using a multi-agentic approach that plans, creates a data model, then builds an app over the top of it. Again, it doesn't necessarily get this right first time, but it is able to iterate to deal with errors and build out a workable app. I can even continue working to add additional capabilities should I want them after it's done its work. Behind this, you can also review and change the data model, understanding what's been built in terms of the Dataverse tables. And obviously, because this is Dataverse, it means that once the app is built, theoretically at least, plugging in additional model-driven apps or Copilot Studio agents on top of that existing data should be very easy. But there is also indication in the UI that in the future this might work with other data platforms too. This is definitely the most advanced of these new tools and arguably the most capable. However, all three of these solutions still have a very long way to go in my opinion before they are up to the types of tasks even a moderately capable low-code maker can build at the more complex end of their repertoire. We should remember though that an AI tool right now isn't necessarily about matching the top end of any worker's true capability. It's about taking care of the grunt work that keeps them from spending their time on tasks that require more skill and discernment. And in that respect, I think each of these tools may well soon have a place in many companies' arsenals. And we shouldn't forget that these aren't the only places we now have AI infused into Power Platform to support makers. From generative actions to generative pages and everything in between, there are more and more ways Microsoft is trying out to not just wholesale replace the role of makers, but to make the process of tool creation more effective. This effort ranges from giving knowledge workers easier than ever tools to build things they would never have tried before, to AI-powered support that allows makers capable of building the most complex Power Platform assets more time to focus their brainpower on what really matters. In no way is most of this ready for prime time, but we were also leaps and bounds further forward than we were when Copilot first started appearing in Power Platform a couple of years back. I regularly use AI capabilities in Power Platform tools, but I believe that with these advances over the course of the next year or 18 months, I will see many parts of this work transformed by AI. There are lots of things I'd like to see. For example, how about I lay out the bones of a Power Automate solution and have Copilot fill in all the error handling stuff? Until we get there, I'll leave a link to my video on easy error handling patterns for Power Automate down in the description. Or what about just being able to throw elements and logic on a Power Apps canvas and have Copilot rearrange and reformat everything for UI consistency? These types of capabilities might seem logical based on what Power Platform has traditionally been as a low-code maker platform, but there's a big question as to whether anything that's visually addressable in a low-code sense like this is actually on Microsoft's long-term radar. Do you need help getting AI adoption off the ground or getting value from it in your business? If so, consider reaching out to learn more about working with me and my company, Bright Ideas Agency. We've helped businesses and individuals around the world navigate this new AI age with options including personal coaching, adoption services, project design and delivery, and end-user training. I'd be happy to connect to learn more about your requirements and outline how I can help. More information is in the video description. The reality is that all three of the tools we've looked at place big potholes in the road for those who are only in the low-code builder space. All the most promising AI-based tools for Power Platform seem to focus on changing what Power Platform is by creating more options for outputs, rather than just accelerating the work in the lanes that already existed. All of these tools rely on code apps rather than traditional canvas or model-driven apps, and none give you an easy way as a maker to jump into what has been produced and put your hands on it in a tool you already know. And while there is Copilot in Canvas apps, for example, it's clear that this is where the focus has shifted. The same is true for other capabilities like generative pages that create code, or the workflows agent that relies on generative actions rather than traditional Power Automate flows. It seems that Microsoft's focus is on changing how Power Platform works to make it easier for AI to manipulate, rather than making the AI tools more capable of actually doing the exact same work the human driver of the AI would have previously done. And this isn't just a problem for AI-human collaboration on building, it's also a problem of responsible AI, because while I can understand how a model-driven or Canvas app works if I open it in an editor, I'm not a coder, so I can't supervise Copilot's work when it's building code apps to anywhere near the same extent. It's all very well to put a warning on code generated in a Copilot page, and Microsoft does this because the AI-generated outputs might create risk. But what is the audience for generating an app in a Copilot page supposed to do with that warning? I'm not going to go out and learn how to write a React app in order to do a responsible AI check on that output. So there are only two possible routes. Either the users are supposed to ignore it, or no one is supposed to use it. And it's not like Power Platform hasn't helped many inexperienced makers to create many risky apps or flows over the years. There are IT security atrocities lurking in many Power Platform default environments. Is Copilot likely to create issues that are worse than many of the worst I've seen humans create? Probably not. But in the state it's at right now, it's probably also not able to match the best. But the problem here isn't finding which type of app builder, Copilot due to AI-based issues, or humans due to lack of knowledge, create the worst problems. It's about throwing the baby out with the bathwater in terms of mitigating that risk and governance practices. Instead of Copilot being a good Power Platform citizen that works within whatever trainings, mitigations, or skills development your organisation has invested in to get the nonsense out of your Power Platform environments, it might simply circumvent the knowledge everyone in your team has to manage these types of issues by creating something entirely new no one knows how to audit or validate. I am very excited for the AI-assisted Power Platform future, but I'm also nervous that AI-enabled Power Platform is about to throw a good number of those who have spent time developing expertise to use those tools usefully and safely off of a knowledge cliff. Accelerating development and making tools more accessible is great, but what do the organisations that might no longer have anyone who understands how the hell any of it works do with that risk? For its part, Microsoft has been explicit in the fact that tools like Canvas apps aren't going away. But if all the AI goodies are quickly pumping out code, and John in finance is still mulling over how to sort his data properly in a Canvas app with no AI help, where are the incentives going to lie in what to build going forward? Microsoft doesn't have to deprecate anything to change how Power Platform gets used. If all the AI productivity benefits are pushed into new lanes of the product, then the incentives for end users change very quickly. However, everything we see in Frontier are early previews, and we should not judge what the impact of those changes will be until it's clear exactly where and how these features will roll out. The one thing we can be sure of is that AI-driven capabilities are going to be core to the future of all of these products. What do you think? Let me know about your experiences of using these tools so far, and what do you think needs to be changed before these Frontier experiences become generally available? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching through to the end. Until the next video, bye bye.